Welcome to episode 1, the introduction of our new podcast. It's me, David, or Muzz, whatever you want to call it, and my friend here, Josh. Josh, introduce yourself.
Yep, Josh here. I go by Tully by most, so stick with whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So we decided we're going to start doing a monthly podcast. It's only monthly because it's probably the only thing we can do considerably well monthly. If we do it weekly, it might be a little bit dodgy and it might be a little bit bland. So we're doing it monthly. Basically, it's just going to be going through some of the movies we saw in the cinema or some of the movies we saw in a home video release. We'll talk about maybe a TV show we started watching, a couple of the things we've purchased throughout the month, like DVDs, video games. We'll talk about some of the video game progression we've done because we're well into our video games. And at the end of each podcast, we'll dedicate a couple of minutes to movie trailer of the month. So we'll talk about a couple of trailers that came out and one that we're really excited for or one that we're interested in seeing more of. So without further ado, we're going to try and make this half an hour to 45 minutes sort of podcast. This one might go for a little longer because it's our first one and we're just getting into it. But if you enjoy it, let us know. If you have any questions for us, let us know. We're not doing this for money, obviously. We're just doing it for a bit of entertainment and just keeping a record of things we're doing. So yeah, without further ado, let's start off by just getting into a couple of movies we saw in the cinemas this month. So at the time of recording this, it's the end of January. So a lot of movies that were supposed to come out last year for award seasons have come out now in Australia. But then also there's a lot of movies that haven't come out yet that we're still waiting on because shitty Australia doesn't release shit for a while. But a couple of movies that I've personally seen were I, Tonya. I also saw the movie Jigsaw. I saw the movie All the Money in the World, and I saw the movie The Foreigner. So I really enjoyed those, but before I get into it, what else have you seen? What have you seen, Tully?
So this year I haven't actually got around to seeing much, but managed to get around to seeing all The Foreigner. I do have I, Tonya on the wait list, as that does look like a pretty exciting film. And under your recommendation, I am going to watch Jigsaw, even though I haven't seen the previous 4 Saw films.
Mate, I tell you now, it's a laugh riot because it's so bad.
Oh man,
It's so bad that it's actually funny.
I'm not expecting quality cinema when it comes to
Citizen Kane of horror movies.
Yeah, Citizen Kane of horror movies. And yeah, the latest one I saw is our main topic one, All the Money in the World.
Oh, All the Money in the World. For people who don't know what the movie is, it's the true story, or almost completely true story, of John Paul Getty III, who was the richest man in the world at some point in time. He's the guy that brought oil from Saudi Arabia to America. He built an empire. He played the stocks. He was pretty much, I think he was probably one of the first billionaires, to be honest with you. I'm not entirely too sure.
He was the first richest private citizen.
Yeah. He was an absolute tyrant. But it's about his grandchild being kidnapped in Rome in 1972, I think it was, 1973, and about how the kidnappers wanted $17 million, and it goes through pretty much an entire amount of time that he didn't want to pay, he didn't want to help pay, he was more interested in knowing what the hell was going on, he just didn't want to give a shit about it, and about his mum, played by Michelle Williams, who was quite distraught the majority of the time because she was obviously sad for her son and that, but it was more about pretty much him being a piece of shit to everyone around him and not being the person you think he would be, and it goes back in time through how these things came about. Now, I won't give too much away because you really should watch the movie yourself, to be honest with you, but the most notorious part of the film is the fact that it was reshot. Didn't they reshot like 50% of that film, to be honest with you?
Yeah, if you don't know already, this film was clouded with controversy due to Kevin Spacey's sexual assault charges. So rather than have him star in the film, Ridley Scott reshot all the scenes with Christopher Plummer and still managed to keep to the same release date.
Yeah, it was like 10 weeks before its release date, and they went and reshot half the film.
8 days. Christopher Plummer shot all his scenes in 8 days, and he's in it for possibly 70% of the film.
He's in a hell of a lot of that movie. Like, I thought when I saw the trailer, they didn't show too much of like Kevin Spacey when I first saw the first trailer, and I was like, oh, okay, so it's like a guest starring role, or it's like a special appearance sort of role. And then when I heard they were doing the reshoots, I was like, well, it makes sense because it's not going to obviously reshoot that much. But then when you watch the movie, it goes for 2 hours and 10 minutes, I think it was.
Yeah.
That, like, more than half the movie is Christopher Plummer doing his thing. And he's not just sitting in the background. He's, like, bailing out, like, speeches, and he's doing things in different countries. It's quite amazing what they ended up pulling off, to be honest with you. Like, I mean, Ridley Scott has been in the industry for a hell of a long time, but it just goes to show what quite talented he is, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, he's absolutely amazing. The fact that he was able to still stick to the release schedule and get it out on time in such a short amount of time is unbelievable.
And not only that, Christopher Plummer was nominated for a fucking award, and he just rocked up at the last moment and was in it. Like,
yeah.
It's quite amazing. I mean, to be honest with you, he was the first choice for the character before Kevin Spacey came aboard. But, I mean, that's completely different. That's just completely different to the subject, to be honest with you, because it doesn't matter. But it was quite a good movie. I really like the movie. I'm not a huge Mark Wahlberg fan, as a lot of people know. I'm not a huge Mark Wahlberg fan because I don't think he's a good actor. He does the exact same thing in every fucking movie that he's in. But it makes sense that he was in this movie and the character that he played, because the character he plays pretty much is a character he always plays in movies. He does, you know? He's the I know everything, but I don't know everything, but I can help people out sort of shit mercenary soldier kind of character. But no, he was really good in this movie. I give him props for this, you know what I mean? Like, I really thought he was good in it. I thought Michelle Williams was really good in it. She's good in most stuff she's in, to be honest with you, because I've only seen her in a handful of films. I'm not a huge fan of hers, but she's still pretty bloody good in the movie.
She played a fantastic role in this, considering she played the, well, I won't say heroic, but she played the desperate mother who had to battle not only her son's kidnappers, but she had to battle her own family as well to secure his release.
And the media's representation of
the media as well, because the media scrutinised her as having the money but not paying up.
Yeah, which when you watch the movie, you can see just sort of the heartbreak that they go through. It's a quite well structured film as well. It wasn't constantly leaving you hanging like, oh man, like I've got to do this, and oh man, like it's how thrilling the way that the movie's going along, and on the edge of your seat the whole time. But the dialogue between some characters and the way they did some flashbacks kept you interested enough to want to keep progressing, not just like, oh, this is kind of getting boring now. There's no real parts in that film that really bored me, to be honest with you.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I do think one of the more standout scenes for that film, I mean, the kid played by Charlie Plummer, no relation to Christopher, the kid did some really good scenes. Like, I think his scenes were really quite well done, and like the progression of that character getting weaker and weaker throughout time was actually pretty well done. But I think one of the best scenes in that movie would be when Christopher Plummer's character takes his young grandson to these ruins in Rome. I honestly forget exactly where it was that they were and what the ruins were called, but he talks about wanting to buy them off the government, and they say no because they see the money that he owns and whatnot. But that entire scene was shot so perfectly. Like, the snow in the scenes was pretty awesome. Like, I mean, if that wasn't real snow, that was fucking amazing effects, because that snow was perfect. It was just perfect. But the setting itself, I really enjoyed the setting. Oh, it was really good. It was different. You know, you don't really see movies set in places like Rome and France and all stuff like that have those sort of things in them. You don't really see that side of those countries. You just see the romantic side of those countries most of the time, and the usual, like, scenic sort of tourist places. So I thought that was really quite cool. It was a different addition to the movie. I thought it was really decent.
Very different approach, though, to the usual crime thriller kidnap story, where it's always fast-paced, always delivers a lot of on-the-edge-of-your-seat thrills, but this one was very slow-paced throughout the film and wasn't so much more about the kidnapping, but more of the characters' relationships with each other as well.
Yeah, the development of their lives, basically, yeah.
Yeah, and the film was it had such a moody feel to it because of its cinematography. Like, if you watch the film, it's very grey, and like grey, like the colour of American money. Yeah. And it really explores a very moody and cold approach to what it is to have so much money. Yeah,
there's like heaps of scenes at the mansion I noticed where like the colour grading changed to like a sort of a light blue,
The house was very
greyish sort of
dark.
thing. Yeah, it was very dark, but like they had that sort of like ice cold sort of tinge over the top of it as well,
Yeah.
so you could feel the like. Wow, I don't know how to really pronounce. I don't really know how to say it, but it did feel cold. It did feel moody. It did feel kind of like detached from like life, you know.
Yeah, just like
dying slowly.
Just like Paul Getty's character, like he played, Christopher Plummer's character, he played Paul Getty as a character who was detached from humanity.
Yeah.
Like, that human relationships weren't important to him. All that important to him was his money and how much he had.
There was literally a scene probably like 15 minutes into the movie where his son, who he hasn't seen since he was a child, goes to meet him because he needs a job, so he goes to ask him for a job. And he literally says, one of the first things he says to him is, "I'm sorry I wasn't there for you when you were younger, but I needed to concentrate on my work. I needed to concentrate on the money." And it's like,
and he said,
you literally sacrificed your family and the happiness of your family to be rich.
Yeah, and he said he couldn't get shackled down with family matters.
Yeah, it's kind of it was really quite sad, and like you can see where everyone in that family has got that sort of like trait from, but it's really quite sad. I do recommend not reading up about the movie or the characters before seeing the movie, and then recommend reading up about them afterwards, even if it's like a Wikipedia page, because it's quite an interesting story. It's quite an interesting like moment in history, to be honest with you.
Obviously, be aware that a film inspired by true events, not everything happened.
Yeah, they do say that. I think it's at the end. They do say that some sentences and some instances were fictionalized and changed. Yeah. So it's obviously it has to be Hollywoodized.
I got to ask, man, what did you think of the musical score? Because I was actually quite impressed.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
The score they delivered, because some of the music they put, like, it was very opera.
Yeah.
And very classical music that fit Getty's character.
Yeah, it fits the time as well, because like they couldn't, like, I mean, they did have some scenes where like they had your typical like
fast thrill music.
Yeah, you know, but like most of the instrumental score was actually quite nice. I liked it.
Yeah.
It didn't take center stage, but it did draw you into it a little bit more. So it didn't just take the entire approach away from you. Like, oh, I'm out of the scene now. It's actually really good. I really liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, out of 10, bro.
I give it an 8 out of 10.
Same.
Give it an 8 out of 10. I wouldn't say it was the best film of... I mean, I would say it's not the best film of last year because of all the films that did come out last year. But if you're going to put that up against just the films that they're nominating for Academy Awards, I'd say it's one of the best that have been nominated.
I'd also say it's one of Ridley Scott's best non-sci-fi films.
Yeah,
you're a huge Ridley Scott fans like me and David are. To us, he's the king of sci-fi. Yeah, in many cases,
he's one of the kings of sci-fi.
Yeah, one of the kings of sci-fi.
That's a story. That's a story for another day.
And that was a story for another day. But when it comes to other films, if he's making films inspired by true stories or legends, they tend to be a bit hit and miss.
Yeah.
But this is probably one of his better works.
It's one of his better ones. Yeah, it's one of those movies that I'll definitely pick up when it first comes out on home video. I thought it was actually quite well done, and I really want to see the making of as well.
I would love to see the making of this film.
I'd love to see the making of that film. That would be really interesting to see exactly what was reshot, you know? You know what would be really cool? I know they're not going to do it, but I reckon it'd be really cool if they release all the scenes that he was in. Yeah, I reckon if they released all the scenes that he was in that got cut out of the movie, so that you could watch the movie with him in it and determine which one's a better version.
Well, funny enough, Christopher Plummer, he didn't watch Spacey's performance because he wanted to do his own thing. And Ridley Scott has also announced that Spacey's role, like his version, will never be released.
Really?
Yep.
That's a shame. Well, I can understand.
That being said,
I can understand that, to be honest with you. I'm not going to be against it. I can understand that. But, no, it's really good. Also, The Foreigner is a movie that we both watched. Just real quickly on that. Jackie Chan, Pierce Brosnan, Martin Campbell coming back to direct. Martin Campbell you would know as the director of GoldenEye and Casino Royale more than everything else that he's done. I think he's a pretty good director. He's a very underrated director at times. I think he's a quite good director. But what did you think of the movie, man?
I thought it was very good, especially for its two main leads who played against type for their careers. I mean, if you've ever watched a Jackie Chan film, which I know you have,
if you haven't, what the fuck have you been doing with your life? If you haven't,
where have you been your whole life? But Jackie Chan, Pierce Brosnan always play the heroic roles, or like the guys who always come out on top. Without spoiling the film so much, Jackie Chan plays this father whose daughter is killed in a bombing orchestrated by rogue IRA units, and he goes on this. He's determined to find out who he is, and it brings him to this politician who's played by Brosnan, who is a former IRA soldier, and it's not your typical action film. Well, it is in a way.
It's like an action.
It's kind of one of those films. Like, if you ever watch Law Abiding Citizen, it's kind of one of those films at first where you don't decide who to lean towards, whether it be Butler or Fox. It's one of those films. Well, who are you rooting for? Do you root for Jackie Chan or do you root for Pierce Brosnan?
Yeah.
But then, as the film goes on, you kind of develop a...
They flesh the characters out more.
Yeah, they flesh the characters out more. And you kind of find yourself, well, I'm going to root for this guy. Won't say who. Action was good. It wasn't necessarily action through beginning to end.
For a movie that stars Jackie Chan, a guy in his 60s now, they did a decent amount of action compared to what I thought they were going to do, to be honest with you.
Well, Jackie Chan can still deliver in the action department.
Jackie Chan can still do an amazing job.
Yeah. The film did have a fair few errors with it, a few things with it that were a bit unbelievable and...
Oh, yeah, it still had its moments.
But then, what action film doesn't? But to me, this is probably one of the better ones, and I think it was a very welcome return for Pierce Brosnan, whose career has been in a pretty huge slump post-James Bond.
Apart from Mamma Mia, I don't really remember too many movies he's been in lately, to be honest with you.
November Man.
Yeah, let's not go there.
But no, like, Foreigner... For a film that didn't even get a release in Australia.
Yeah, it didn't get a cinema release. It was all home video.
Yeah, it was all home video. And I was actually quite excited to see this in the cinema. But, seeing it through a downloaded version, which was good quality, I'll say it was a very good film. Probably a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I'll give it about a 7.5 out of 10. Yeah. It was decent for what it was. It was a different sort of... It's a story that we've all heard before, but it's not technically a story we've all heard before. So it's a little different, but it's still an exciting film nonetheless.
So you've got to give I give praise to Jackie and Pierce because for two actors who have been pretty much typecast their whole lives, they managed to play against type in this film, and they delivered.
Yeah.
And, Pierce Brosnan, who is born in Ireland, was able to use his Irish accent for this film, and he delivered with it.
You know what it was like? It was like watching behind-the-scenes videos of Colin Farrell back when he first started in the film industry, and you're like, well, he does a really good Irish accent, and then you find out he's Irish, and you're like, oh.
See, I watched it going, well, it's directed by Martin Campbell, who directed Pierce Brosnan's first GoldenEye film. It's like, I'm linking it as Pierce Brosnan's playing retired James Bond, and
working for the government still.
Yeah, his last mission went rogue because they found out he was an IRA soldier.
Was he really 006?
Yeah. So you can make that kind of theory link connection. Well, it does make sense, but pretty much.
Spoiler-free conspiracy theory. You heard it here.
Yeah.
Oh, mate. Do you know what else? Real quickly, you know what else I watched last night? I watched the movie Metro. Have you ever seen the movie Metro with Eddie Murphy?
No.
No? I'll tell you what, it's an old movie. I didn't realise how old it was. It's 21 years old this year. For a movie made in the late 90s, it's still pretty entertaining. It's got your typical Eddie Murphy R-rated sort of comedy in it. It's got your typical Eddie Murphy action in it. There's literally a scene in the movie where he's chasing down this, what are they called? Those metro trams in the middle of San Francisco.
Yeah.
And it's blowing cars up and shit's going everywhere. It was actually really entertaining. I forgot how good that movie was until I watched it, So just putting that out there that there's a little movie. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's old now, so you'll be able to pick that up a lot of places. But let's get into TV. TV this month, I watched one TV series and I started one TV series. I'll start with the one that I watched. Watched a mini-series called Little Boy Blue. Have you heard of Little Boy Blue?
I have.
Yeah. It's the true story about this 11-year-old kid in the UK. I think it was about 8 years ago now. And he was shot and killed in the street by a couple of youths. And it's only 4 episodes long. They're all an hour long each. But it's about the police detectives that were trying to track down the people that did it without kind of screwing up the investigation and having them walk free. I thought it was really good. It was quite well portrayed. It wasn't boring at any point, and although it was only 4 hours long, it's enough for you to either speed through it really quickly or watch a couple episodes over a couple of days and be really quite entertained by it. I only knew one character from it, which was Stephen Graham, who you would know from a lot of TV shows and movies. Like, I'm not even going to list them. But I didn't know anyone else from it. And it actually interested me a little bit more to see what else they've been doing and what else the creators made, because I thought it was really quite well done. Other than that, I only watched the first episode, but I started The End of the Effing World, which is on Netflix. I know you've seen the first episode as well. What did you think?
I thought it was great. It was brilliant. Something different with Netflix as well, considering everything is same old now.
Yeah.
But this is something I feel like I can take
British.
further. Yes.
It's very British and dry.
Yeah, you can see why I have an appeal to it.
Yeah. I really liked it. I immediately kind of adapted to it because I've seen a lot of things like this. But although I've only seen the first episode, I'm very interested to see where it's going to go, so much so that I stopped watching it so that I could, when I have a day off, I can watch the entire thing at once, because it's the sort of thing where I don't want to take my time with it. I just want to get through it because it looks absolutely hilarious. There's some funny shit in that. Without giving anything away, if you like dry humour, if you like a little bit of violence, I'm not going to say a little bit because there's a little bit more than a little bit of violence, but if you like a little bit of violence, and you like your... I mean, the main characters in the show are teenagers, but they're played by people in their mid-20s, so, like, they're at least seasoned actors. If it sounds interesting, just go and check it out. Don't even watch the trailer, just go and check it out, because, yeah, it's all kinds of fucking weird, eh? Like, definitely worth it, eh?
Oh, man.
Definitely worth it.
Absolutely. So, I've been watching the XFiles Season 11.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. So, anyone knows, I'm a huge X-Files fan. Loved the show back in its heyday.
Back in the day.
When they announced its revival, I was pretty stoked because they did leave it on a cliffhanger, and then they brought out a film, which we won't delve into. But last year, the miniseries, quite disappointing. Like, a pretty disappointing return for two characters that are very iconic in their own way. Not to mention trying to wrap up a story that started almost 20 years ago. Now, Season 11. Now, this is obviously Gillian Anderson's final season, as she said she's no longer playing Scully on Season 11. So they've got to wrap some storylines up here. But the premiere of Season 11 was one of its alien mythology episodes. Now, since the revival, the alien mythology episodes have been pretty shit on account of their Monster of the Week episodes. Like, it's not making sense. Like, I won't, without spoiling too much, well, I'll say William B. Davis's character came back. I won't say who he plays, but his character came back, and it kind of doesn't make sense because his character is like his character met an end in the previous incarnation of the show. So, but then again, aliens, I wouldn't get them past it. But yeah, the alien mythology episodes haven't lived up to expectations just yet, and they're all Chris Carter directed episodes.
Oh, okay.
Chris Carter, great TV creator, pretty average director. I think leave the directing to other directors who can do their job. But so far, only 2 episodes have aired. The second episode they did, which was a Monster of the Week episode, or a episode of the week thing, that was much better. Very solid, and kind of a return to the X-Files and what made it so great with its, conspiracies and plot twists and all that. There's still, I think, 8 episodes to go. I think they're only doing a 10-episode season. But, yeah, I'll say it's better than the revival season they did last year. It has potential to be better, but only if they know how to do these episodes
They keep
correct.
on track with the drama, yeah.
Like, as always, it's leading cast, David and Gillian. They deliver as Mulder and Scully and have great chemistry with each other. Mitch Pileggi is Walter Skinner. Always love seeing him. He's one of my favourite characters in the show. It's doing well, and I look forward to episode 3 this week. Haven't got round to watching anything else on TV yet. The year is still young, so hopefully something will appeal to my interest later on down the road.
Well, there's a TV show. Oh, sorry. That I honestly haven't seen any of X-Files since the season 9, so I'd have to watch season 10 before I watch season 11. But if it's as good as you say it's going, I'll be interested to watch some of it. But I'll wait and see. But on the whole TV shows that are coming out, there was a TV show called Altered Carbon that was advertised. It's coming out on Netflix in the 1st or 2nd of February. If you haven't seen the trailer for that, I recommend watching the trailer for that. It looks like it could be quite interesting. It's very, it's very Blade Runner-esque, like sort of neo-noir sort of TV series, and it rings to mind a lot of things like Blade Runner, Deus Ex, it looks a little bit like Twin Peaks, the sci-fi. It's interesting to say the least. I didn't 100% look up to see if it was Joel Kinnaman in the lead role, but if it was, I don't know how it's going to pan out, because as we all know, he was terrible in the RoboCop remake.
Oh.
But other than that, I'll be interested to see what it's going to be like, because it does look pretty good.
Speaking of Blade Runner-esque, did you ever watch that TV show that was based on the novel Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? It came out last year.
Philip K. Dick one?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that yet.
No? I don't know how to feel about that. Like, I've been told it's good, but haven't got round to watching it, and I don't know. It looks like it'd be good. It looks like it would appeal to me, but yeah, I just thought you might have seen it.
No, I was waiting till I have time to be bothered to watch it, because I know, just like things like Twin Peaks, you're probably going to have to watch a bunch at once, because it will probably trip you out. Eh?
Yeah.
Moving on to this though, great segue. Purchase of the month. I've purchased a few Blu-rays, like a couple of movies, but the one I've purchased is the 4K copy of Blade Runner 2049, because it finally got a release on home video.
Yes.
Yeah.
For a good $37 as well.
Yeah, you know, it was actually a pretty decent price, considering I thought it was going to be a lot more than that. I've seen some advertisements in Big W saying there's going to be like $44.95, and I was like, well, I'll get it from JB. But that was our second favourite film of the year, both of our second favourite film of the year. I thought it was absolutely amazing, and I'm really interested to get into the special features of that now.
Oh, absolutely! I am watched the film already. I want to get round to those special features, because I want to see how certain things were done and how they made that film the masterpiece it was.
Yeah, like I've seen a few behind the scenes videos from YouTube back when it first came out, especially the Roger Deakins one, where he talks about the lighting of certain scenes and whatnot. Oh man, that was like 15 minutes of just pure amazement. I can't believe some of the things he did. It was just crazy. But other than that, yeah, it's I'm really interested to get back into that. It was great stuff, and even though it's about 2.5 hours long, it's still one of the better movies of the year, and if you haven't seen it, it's worth checking out.
Yeah,
it's well worth checking out. And I do recommend watching the first Blade Runner, though, if you haven't seen it, because you're going to kind of need to see that before you see the second one. It's not a necessity.
Yeah, it's not a necessity.
It's worth it for what it is.
Yeah,
you know?
And if you want to make sense of that universe, then it's probably best to watch the first film as well.
Yeah, it really is, yeah. So that's pretty much with the movies and whatnot. We're gonna end it off with two little segments we're gonna try and do every single month, which is, the first of those would be game progression. Now, I started Assassin's Creed Origins only about 3 weeks ago and started to get into it. I've done about 32 hours of that game so far. I'd say I'm probably at least a third of the way through it, because I'm trying to do all the side quests and everything as well. I'm really enjoying it. Man. You haven't played much of it yet, have you?
Not yet, no.
It's well worth it. I know a lot of people didn't want to pick it up because they're just bored of the Assassin's Creed games now, and they just think they're the exact same thing. This one, I know it sounds like a broken record, but this one, it does change it up. It does change it up a fair bit. It's a lot like an Assassin's Creed game in the sense that it's running around stabbing things and just killing people and whatnot, but there's a lot of like RPG sort of mechanics in it, and you can change the outfits, all that sort of nonsense, like cosmetic stuff, but the fighting style is a lot different, so it changes up the gameplay of it, and you can change up a lot of your weapons. And I tell you now, man, there's some pretty sick weapons and combat skills in this game. It's absolutely amazing sometimes, some of the things that they do. But I don't want to go into it too much, because I still haven't finished that much of it. I did get to a point where I started slightly skipping the main story videos, because I think that they're a little repetitive, but it's just the way people are saying things and just some of the things they're saying. It's like,
what is wrong?
Oh, hello, Medjay. Can you help me do this? Okay, there are crocodiles attacking. You must help me, Medjay. It's like, all right, bro. Like, sometimes I just skip them, but when it goes to the main quest sort of storylines, I watch those, because you kind of have to get it. There's like literally a part where I just finished where you destroy this giant snake. Like, I'm not saying like 10-foot tall snake. I'm saying like at least 250 feet tall snake. It's a huge, crazy sci-fi looking snake, and you're just
Jesus
like, what
Christ.
the hell? But if you're not really paying a hell of a lot of attention to the story, I can see where people just be like, that sounds stupid. It doesn't sound like it's grounded in some form of reality for an Egyptian Origins game. But it's worth it. It's good. It's a good game. Enjoyable game. What about yourself?
I'm still Mario Odysseying it, bro.
Mario Odyssey.
Yep. So, still haven't actually done the main campaign yet. I'm trying to hold. Well, I'm progressing through it, but I'm still trying to get the moons as well because
What's your counter up to?
Right. Where did I leave off last of you? 527?
That's the one.
I think I've only got, since then, another 9. So 536 moons.
That's still pretty good.
It is, considering there's 999 to go in total. I didn't actually think I'd get this far in such a short amount of time. But, no, seriously, guys, even if you're not a Mario fan and you like a game that will occupy you, grab this one. Pick a copy up of it, because there is the... I don't honestly know how short the campaign is because I'm still playing through it. I've heard it's quite short, but there's so much to do in this game. So many collectibles to get. And on top of that, like any Mario game, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun thing to do. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's a good, couple of hours in your day to play.
Yeah, it's a pick up, put down sort of game, not like a taxing on the mind sort of game.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't played it. I've got to admit, I haven't played it because I don't have a Switch. But I have seen a lot of playthroughs of it on like Game Attack and whatnot. But I tell you, it's the sort of game I can see myself wanting to buy a Switch for when they bring out a few more games that'll lead me into desperately wanting a Switch. Like, there's only honestly 3 games at the moment that I'm desperately wanting to play on the Switch, and the other 2 are obviously the Breath of the Wild, which I can say without a doubt I probably won't enjoy, but it's something that I want to experience, and Golf Story, which is this really small indie game that I don't think anyone really cared about. But
What's
like,
it called?
Golf Story.
Golf Story.
It just looks really interesting
Sounds
to
like
me.
something I'd want to play.
It looks a little bit like Stardew Valley, but centered around golf. So it's a lot of like, so it's a lot of like small, mindless tasks, but you've got to rearrange your side quests by doing golf activities, and I don't know, it just seems really interesting. And I think it's developed by a bunch of Aussies as well, so it'd be very, very like Aussie sort of humour in it.
But now you have another reason to buy the Switch, because of the Switch Lab that they're bringing out.
Nintendo Labo.
Yeah.
Oh mate, I'm not even gonna bother. Right? Like that'll be the subject for another podcast, because that's a story on its own, mate. What was that?
I don't know, but I feel like that's something for next podcast.
Yeah, that we can delve into that. Like, we'll probably know more about it by then, to be honest with you, because they'll reveal more information. It comes out in April as well, so we can bash it out when you eventually buy it.
I won't be buying it. Don't worry about that.
We'll see. But
we'll see. I say that now.
Yeah, but no, like, Switch is something that when I first saw it being advertised, I was just like, I don't really care. And then when I saw it being played, I was like, I don't really care. And then I saw Zelda and I was like, like, I'm not the biggest Zelda fan, but I want to play it because I have played a few Zelda games. And then when I saw a bunch of the other games, like ARMS and all stuff like that, I was like, it's just like tech demo stuff. But when Mario Odyssey came by and I did see a full version of the game, not this E3 sort of shit, I was pretty taken aback. It pretty much looks like the sort of thing where they're like, here, we're going to give you these mechanics, and we know that the controllers can do this and the Switch can do this and whatnot. But they've incorporated it all into that game, and it's sort of like a tech demo game, but an enjoyable tech demo game. And collecting all those moons is actually the game, whereas the main campaign is just teaching you how to collect those moons. And it's just a very intriguing sort of thing to me. And I have heard that, the campaign is quite small. Apparently it's like about 10, 12 hours long. But collecting all those moons can take up to 100 hours.
Yep.
So it'll occupy my time. It'll occupy the hell out of my time. Like Persona 5. But I don't know, man. Like, it's the sort of thing that I actually I'm looking into, and maybe tax time comes around, I might put a couple $100 aside and then see if I can save a bit of money and buy one.
Excellent.
Yeah, but well, that's pretty much. Oh, we didn't talk about
trailer of the month.
Trailer of the month. So This is a little thing I think we should do every month, that trailers get released for movies and TV shows and all sorts of like that. I've only seen a few trailers for movies. A couple of ones that came out this month were Slender Man, which looks absolutely horrible. Truth or Dare, which looks like a typical Blumhouse film where it might be interesting, but at the same time it might be boring. The movie Game Over Man, which is done by the guys that did Workaholics. Those guys are absolutely hilarious. I'd watch anything they do. The movie Beirut, which is a John Hamm film. If you haven't seen the trailer for that, it looks interesting.
Ooh.
Yeah, it looks interesting. But my trailer of the month is Red Sparrow, which is the Jennifer Lawrence spy thriller-esque horror sort of, thriller-esque drama sort of movie. Now, I know it's based on a book, and I know the teaser trailer was pretty much just her in a bathing suit walking past someone, and that was pretty much it. And everyone was like, oh wow, Jennifer Lawrence with like half naked walking in a swimsuit. Yep, I'll go see that. I wasn't even bothered. I saw that and I was like, that sounds terrible. Watched the trailer the other day. Story seems interesting. It's got a bit of a backstory origin to it as well as an actual story to it. And Jeremy Irons and Joel Edgerton are in it. So those three things kind of get me on board. I'm pretty sure Francis Lawrence is directing it, which is the guy that did I Am Legend, and he also did a couple of the Hunger Games movies.
Yes.
Now, he's not the greatest director of all time, don't get me wrong. He's a good director, but he's not the greatest director of all time. But he always delivers something that's at least entertaining. So it might be a terrible film, but it's still entertaining nonetheless. So I think this movie has the potential to be either a very good spy thriller, could kick off a new sort of era of movie genres maybe. If not, I do think it'll be a half-assed movie that I don't get pissed off at actually paying to go and see at the cinemas. Sort of like some of the movies I saw last year. Like, some of the movies I saw last year were terrible, and I was like, why the hell did I pay to see this? But then there were some of them where I was like, I didn't hate it, and paying to see it at the cinemas didn't annoy me, but I'm not going to buy it on DVD. But yeah, so trailer of the month's Red Sparrow. Wait, so did you see any trailers this month?
Well, apart from that trailer that you recommended, and I don't know, but I did watch a trailer this month. I don't know if it came out necessarily in January.
That's okay.
But Winchester?
Oh, yeah.
I am actually quite excited for that film. It actually looks pretty half decent.
Yeah.
Helen Mirren, Jason Clarke.
I think the trailer did come out in January, but it was the teaser trailer that came out in December. So if you watch the full trailer, I'm pretty sure that only came out like about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I've watched the full trailer for Winchester.
I think the story behind the movie is even more interesting than the movie looks itself, but I think that it's one of those movies where they don't want to give hardly anything away in the trailer, which is good because if you read up about the story behind it, it might ruin the film for you, but at the same time, it gets you even more captivated at the fact that this shit was something that happened to someone. And it does look like it's going to be a little more horrific than what it probably was in real life. Well, the same thing with All the Money in the World. They have to fictionalize some things and they have to make it more Hollywood-esque because it's a movie. But it does look like the sort of movie that I will enjoy going and seeing.
Yeah.
You know what's really weird, though? It's coming out in February.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think they really released that many horror movies in February. Like, it's a bit of a weird time to release it.
Perfect Valentine's Day film for all those dates out there.
I think it does come out the day before Valentine's Day over here, doesn't it?
Well,
you know. 12th of February, I think it is.
Well, it's got to compete with 50 Shades Free, doesn't it?
Oh, man. Don't even, mate.
Oh.
Can you imagine all the people that don't get into the 50 Shades Free trailer movie are going to be like, I guess we'll buy a ticket to this movie instead. That's probably why they release it, because I know it'll make money then. Yeah, that makes sense now that you say it out loud. But, yeah, I'm interested in seeing it. That's one of the ones that I won't mind paying to see at the cinemas. Like, if I go and see it and I hate it, it's only because the trailer intrigued me enough to want to go and see it. I wouldn't mind seeing that. That's actually a good choice, man. That was a good pick. There's 2 trailers a month there. So Winchester and Red Sparrow. They'll pretty much wrap it up. We don't want to go for too long because we don't want to bore people too much. But if you liked what we've been talking about, let us know. If you don't like what we've been talking about, let us know. Give us some criticism, friendly criticism. Let us know some of the things you're waiting to see. Let us know some of the movies you really enjoyed this month. If you watched old movies or new movies. If you're interested in checking out some of those movies, honestly, just go to the video store. There's still a few of them around. I know because I work in one. And pick up Blade Runner 2049 because it's amazing.
Pick up The Foreigner as well.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's worth it. If not, honestly, pay to rent it from somewhere because it's still worth having a watch. And if you haven't seen All the Money in the World, go and see the cinemas now because I'm pretty sure it's on its last session this week because the sessions have gone down very quickly. And seeing that there's a lot of kids' movies out at the moment, I wouldn't be surprised if it leaves very, very soon.
If there's something you've seen that we haven't, throw us a recommendation.
Yeah.
I will say, though, that if everyone starts mentioning Black Panther, I'm going to just ignore you.
Oh, yeah. Wrap it up. You know what I wanted to do? I wanted to let you know that I've got a couple of resolutions this year. I fucking hate resolutions. New Year's resolutions. I hate them.
Totally.
But I thought if we didn't do this podcast, I'm going to have a couple of resolutions. So one of them is going to be that I want to complete 3 major games before Spider-Man PS4 comes out because I'm desperately waiting for that game. I can't wait for that game.
When you mean complete, are you going to complete
100%.
Okay, so platinum trophy and all.
Yeah, 100% complete them. I'm on my track with one of those with Assassin's Creed at the moment.
Go for it.
The other one is I want to get back into filming some reviews. So if any of you people like them, let me know because I know a lot of people hated them. But I enjoyed it. It made me happy and I was a little bit...
Oh, great.
I used to smile a little bit when I did it because
I still watch that Wonder Woman review at least once a month.
Yeah. That and also... I pledged to go and see more films at the cinemas, which means I'm probably going to go and see a couple of Marvel films, even though I don't really like Marvel films that much. But I realised that 2016, I think I figured out with a girl at work that I'd only seen 11 or 12 movies at the cinemas that year. And last year, I'm pretty sure the exact same amount of movies, maybe even less, I actually paid to see at the cinemas. And I don't know, I just felt that I'd wasted my time waiting for some of them, and I wasted my time not seeing some of them, and then I felt really depressed that some of them I literally just skipped entirely, and they're actually good movies. So I want to go and see at least 2 movies a month at the cinemas, which means I more than likely will have to go and see one of those Marvel films, and that's literally what triggered when you were talking about Black Panther.
I'm gonna say if you're gonna just choose Black Panther over
Infinity War.
Yeah, that Infinity War.
There's some other Marvel films coming out this year as well, isn't there?
I think those are the only 2. I think maybe Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I'll go see that instead, yeah.
Okay.
If that's coming out this year, I'll go see that. You know what, though? In May, because you've got Infinity War, Deadpool 2, and
go see Deadpool 2, that's a Marvel film. There you go, see it done, thanks.
Technically, yeah. Technically it's Marvel film, but technically it's not. But we all knew I was going to go see it anyway. But I'm probably not going to go to cinemas too much in May because I don't want to see Infinity War, and I'm not interested in the Han Solo movie, but I am going to see Deadpool 2. Do you have any resolutions before I cut this off?
No, nothing. I don't watch... Yeah, resolutions are... Yeah. But I don't I wouldn't necessarily say completing a game would be a resolution because that's just something I can get done.
I don't think you can really complete games on the Switch. You just constantly keep playing them until you get bored of them, don't you?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So I've put 700 hours into this game. I'm a little bit bored of it now.
Well, no, I completed Zelda 100%. That was...
Yeah, but then you just keep playing the game. You just keep playing the open world because it never stops doing things in the open world, doesn't it?
Nah.
There you go.
But I guess with resolutions then, or if I don't know, maybe see one film a month, one good film,
decent film in the cinema.
Yeah, so a decent work of cinema, and then in other cases maybe just see a popcorn flick, so I can just go,
shrug it off,
or a bad. Because next month, well, I won't discuss what we're seeing next month because that's for our next podcast.
Yeah, that'll be for our next podcast, but we're thinking of some things. So, if you like the structure, let us know. If you like what we're doing, let us know. And we don't have an actual title for the podcast yet, but we'll think of that. If you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments below.
Yeah.
Be civil about it, be friendly about it. We're just trying to be a bit of fun, just trying to be a bit of entertainment, and just for those people that want to listen, they can listen. If not, it's up to you, man. You don't have to listen, you don't have to do it. Give us a up like, give us a down like, whatever you want. We're here just for a bit of entertainment. So, thanks, guys.
Peace out.
See you next time.